In 2024, you all joined me for the journey of supporting my club, being passionate for my community, and doing everything that I possibly can to show that there are passionate fans in our community of the Gold Coast. You've ridden the ups and the downs with me every single week, and I appreciate you. I appreciate every single one of you, no matter what team you support, no matter what club you're a part of, no matter what community you are in. I appreciate you, because without you, I wouldn't be able to achieve and do what I do here. My main goal here on BKRsport was always to show off who we are, what we represent, and that there are passionate fans here on the Gold Coast. It has always been my intention, and I will always try my best to deliver that. I am emotionally, financially, physically, and mentally invested in the week-to-week results of this team. We've flown to Canberra, Townsville, New Zealand for the first time, Penrith, driven down to Newcastle and back. We've been a part of many games in Sydney, Coffs Harbour, and obviously many in Southeast Queensland at Suncorp Stadium and also at Cbus Stadium. And whilst this is incredibly difficult to achieve, it is a very proud thing to do from myself. I really enjoy being able to be amongst the Titans fans across the country. It makes me so happy to see the smiles on people's faces when we score, when we win, to be a part of the moment, to be a part of the atmosphere, to be a part of what represents the Gold Coast and our community. I'm happy for the players, I'm happy for the organisation, I'm happy for all the people that work hard to try their best to make sure this team is the best in the country. And although the results haven't gone our way throughout the years, the fact of the matter is that we do turn up. There are people who support the Titans at every single game. We may not have a fan base that dates back to 1908. We may not have the results in the Premiership in the past that guarantees a fan base to grow, to become larger, and the results unfortunately haven't gone our way. But this just shows how resilient our fan base is. This just shows that we are the energy. The energy is our fans. Feel the energy is our fans. It is you who gets to the games, who makes their voice heard on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever it is. Whether you're at the game or far away, you are important. You are important to what I do, and you are very important to what the club does. Don't ever forget your importance. Don't ever forget that it's not just me. It is you. Without you, I can't do what I do, because every single time I'm in an away game or at a home game, I'm with other people who support this team passionately. And although they don't have a social media following like I may have here on BKRsport, they are there. They are heard, and I do appreciate them greatly. So with this being the very last men's vlog of the season, I thank you all. I thank every single one of you for supporting me on this journey, and I appreciate all the support that we do receive here on BKRsport. Live your passion. Live your passion. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. You are good enough, you are loved, you are appreciated, and you are supported. From myself to you, thank you. Thank you for a year of ups and downs, but doing it all together. That's our community. I'm proud of the Gold Coast.
Yeah, g'day Titans fans, and welcome back to the Gold Coast Titans Frontline Podcast. My name is Zane from Clarkey's Rugby League column. To my left is Blaze from BKRsport, and we are a Titans podcast that aims to bring you everything you possibly need to know Titans every single week. Blaze, 2 losses this week, mate. Not another great week for the club. You were at both games, mate. How are you going, though?
Yeah, no, in regards to the NRL, I was, and we'll talk about it, like I'm actually pretty happy despite the loss. I'm pretty happy with how we finished off our season. At least we didn't finish it off like the Broncos did, conceding a fitty bomb to the Melbourne Storm. And I was pretty happy with that result regardless, especially considering everything that went into the Panthers game that day. But the women's game was, quite disappointing, unfortunately, especially considering we led with 10 minutes to go. And then, unfortunately, that's probably our season done with that one. So, a couple of negative lights there. But at least we've got some really good positive news to talk about today in regards to PBC and Zane Harrison coming through.
100% we do, mate. I just want to confirm before we move into the news segment that you're a pretty big deal now. So I just wanted to basically confirm we're still friends. I've seen you on Kieran Foran's story, in the JoJo feeder family photos, everything like that. So will you be lining up for Tonga inside centre with JoJo Fafita in the Pacific Championships? And are you too famous for me now?
Well, I think it was generous to think that we were friends anyway. Obviously, we do a podcast together, but it's very generous for you to think that, we were of any kind friendship, especially when, I've seen you doing kick and stuff like that around, which is a little bit dodgy. But, look, obviously, it was a great time down there. I think Kieran Foran was obviously just really appreciating that I'm just unrelenting and I just don't stop in regards to the promotion and love that I provide this club. I'm constantly putting myself into, enemy territory and being target number one. And Foz is there with me every single week. I'm there with him and he's there with me. And, we always talk. He's a great bloke. He's a great human being. And he's one of the most important signings in our club's history, in my personal opinion, regardless of, on-field results and whatnot. He is a big part about this team. And he can obviously see and view kind of what we do here as creators. He can see the fans and what the fans do as a supporter base, and loves the boys and loves the organisation and loves the Gold Coast. So really appreciative there of Kieran Foran, and I'm always a big fan of what he has been able to provide the Gold Coast. In regards to the Fafita family, they're amazing, man. Pilar and Amy. Every week, JoJo's playing, unless their daughter or their other son is playing as well in their leagues, they will always be there. They've been with them for years now. I always see the Fafita family there, and obviously it was the last game of the season. JoJo came over and we took a photo, and now I'm Blaze Fafita. I'm not Blaze Ross, I'm Blaze Fafita. So, look, I think I might be lining up for Tonga. We'll see. Probably. Partner Connie Harrell in the centres is what I'm thinking, because I have lost a lot of weight now, so I'm not exactly a big back rower like a big Davey Fafita anymore, or a front rower like a Moaki Fodawaker. But I'm definitely thinking to partner Conrad Harrell in the centres.
Yeah, Christian Wolf's already given me the call. He said, look, we had him down as a front row forward in our rotation, but we're going to have to put him out in the centres. Now, in all seriousness though, man, from my perspective, and I've never even really told you this off camera, but did you do a lot for this club? So to see Kieran Foran, one of our key players, share you on his story and say that you make, fans like you make the game, and, to see the players' families recognize you, dude, it's awesome. Genuinely, you deserve that, bro. And it's awesome that every time I open up a Titans comment section, you're in there being positive, promoting the front line, promoting this club, backing us up online. You are always there, man. So you're although to most people to be, he got shared on a story, it's such a small thing to them, right? I can appreciate that for you. It would be huge. And, as a co-host with you on this podcast, it was awesome to see you get that recognition, bro, because I know it hasn't always been that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's definitely not always been that way. But, we keep on doing what we're doing. I want to really put out there, though, for everybody that this doesn't mean that I'm any better of a supporter than anybody, right? It doesn't mean that what I do means that I am more of a supporter of this club than you. I have obviously been pushed to the front line. There's no pun intended there. Pushed to the front line, and same with you. But we've been pushed to the front line of this fan base where we have our social media followings and we have the ability to kind of put our opinions out there and show our support and our passion. And because of that, obviously our face is recognised quite frequently with what we are able to and trying to achieve to promote this club on a positive level and represent a fan base that doesn't have a great deal of representation, because realistically it's just myself and Clarkey and the social media side of things that do put ourselves out there. And, it is really, it's not about the pure share necessarily from Kieran Foran, but it's about the respect and appreciation from, a big time player in the club who has won a premiership elsewhere. He's our captain as well, with Tino being down injured this year. And it's really amazing. And the reason why, to go on the families as well. Obviously I see Pilar and Amy there every week. I see Mike and Julia Kinney of the Counter Kinney family there as well, where we obviously both know Mark Verrills quite well, who is the dad of Sammy Verrills. And, you go through the line and there is so many that you do see and you are a part of. And that's because we are there every single week. We are there to, mix in with the families and say, and give that positive support. They're not going to want to deal with you and talk to you and listen to you if you're going to, publicly throw shade at their son, or their daughter in the women's game as well. Like I know Jess Ellison's dad really well as well. So yeah, it is very fulfilling to be a part of the community and to be recognised within the community for sure. And we just keep on, trying to be as positive as possible, because the parents who do listen to this podcast, by the way, I know the Kinney family, and also know Mark is a big listener. Shout Mark. I know that, they understand from our podcast and what we do provide that our intentions are right. It's all about the intention. It's all about, choosing to critique the team and critique the players, but also saying that if we have to say something negative, we don't want that. We want to see them do well. We know they can do well. That's why they are part of this team. So that's why you get a lot of the respect there from the families and whatnot. But I just want to really reiterate the key thing here is that does not mean that I'm a better fan than anybody. It just means I have the ability to do what I do, to create content, whether it be through this podcast or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all the likes, right, to create that content to promote our great club.
And personally, like from my experience with being a content creator and people knowing publicly that I support the Titans, there is actually a lot more negatives than positives. Like the positives are when we get a win, people immediately think of you. Every time we lose, I'm in meme groups on punters and dribblers, and at Leichhardt when we lost, every 20th person leaving.
Yeah, walking outside, that was fun. Yeah, I remember
Get that up, yeah, Clarkey and Blaze, stuff like that. Like there's a lot of negatives as well. So
on that Tigers game at Leichhardt, so we were both quite upset after the game, obviously, because it was a very distraught game. And I remember I had a video sent from some rando that was like sitting to the left of us, maybe around like 20, 30 meters away. And it was like zooming in on me, like putting my hand on my face and being quite like frustrated and upset with the result. And, so why get that sent to me? And this is a regular thing for us, by the way. If you guys go to a game, because you don't have that kind of facial recognition amongst the NRL supporter bases, you don't have the rest of the week to deal with just people who want to get that win over you as well, rather than, when you go to a game, obviously you go there, it sucks, it's awful. You would have been feeling the exact same way as us, but at least you don't have to deal with the opposition fan bases where they go at you. And another thing actually is that when you are kind of out there and you do put yourself completely to the public, right? The thing is that when you're a big club, you're a good club, say the Panthers, say the Storm, say the Roosters, even go as far as say the Sharks, but I'd say the Sharks are on a similar-ish level in regards to the way that I'm about to talk about. But when you're a good team and a successful team, everyone's loving it. Take, for example, our 5 out of 6 games this year where we went on that winning streak. Everyone's loving each other. Everyone's supporting each other. They're like, this is awesome. That's great. All the players are the greatest team in the planet. But then when you start to lose again, a lot of the fan base can also direct their hatred towards what we do and the, trying to hype this team up and be positive. I remember we've copped quite a bit this year in regards to, before the year started, we obviously were very hyped on the team. Now we look at the media that's being put out there from the club that is very hype and very positive and beneficial to the year, which of course I get why they do that. But also we then believe that, and we also see what we see and analyze it. And we're like, okay, this actually could be quite well. But then when it doesn't go well, the fans have listened to what we have to say. They're like, you're the reason. You shouldn't be hyping up the club. You are the reason for, this being as sad as it actually is. So, yeah, there is a lot of positives and there is a lot of negatives. When you're winning, everything is amazing. Everything's working well. When you're losing, everyone's throwing shade here, there, everywhere. That happens in organizations. That happens with players. If you're losing, you're going to see our center pairing of, BK and Loffy, they'll blame each other, right? It's not specifically them, but I'm just saying, like, though, as an example, they will say, no, it's your fault and your fault. But when we're winning and we make a mistake, they'll be like, it's all good, man. Don't worry. We're a team, we're a collective, and we'll get it done. So that's just how life works. And that's just how this all works. And that's why, although it looks very, very easy from the outset, I would say it looks very, very easy for everyone just saying, he sits in front of a computer and does a couple of things. There is a lot more to it. And that's why there is so much riding on the highs and lows of the season.
100%. It's been a tough year for every single Titans fan, whether you're a diehard fan, whether footy is your second sport, maybe like AFL more, regardless of what capacity you support the Titans in. And I assume for most people listening, that's a pretty high level. We all feel it. We're all disappointed. And so I think the most important thing is, as we always advocate, let's stick together as a community. It's round 27. We'll be here. We'll recap it all, and we'll keep going next week with the women's as well, of course, because we love this community just as much as you do, mate.
I will quickly also just put out there, if you are more of an AFL fan, I really hope it's not the Suns, because they I would love to see them do well, man. I really would. I'd love to see them do well, but the highest they've ever finished is 10th position. They've been in the comp for since I think we last made the finals, around 2010, 2011, 2012 kind of era. And they have not made the finals yet. So if you are a Gold Coast fan of all sports, I tell you what, it's a hard knock life, man. It is a hard knock life. We lost the Blaze. We lost the Gold Coast United. You know, we are getting a BBL team, and an NBL team is actually coming back as well. But the AFL has always struggled, and the Titans have always struggled. So if you are just a straight up Gold Coast fan, I take my hat off to you, because it is a really tough life, that's for sure.
I'm so keen for us to get NBL teams and BBL teams and all this stuff, man, because I love everything Titans. I love everything Gold Coast, actually. And let's move on to our Titans. And, well, some of us have other responsibilities, but I will live there once again in the future for sure. Let's go to the Titans news segment rather, and talk the Paul Broughton Medal Night. I will read out the awards and jump in. Let me know which ones you agree with, disagree with. Our MVP, so our actual Paul Broughton medal, went to Keanu Kinney. I think he's the fourth outside back to win it. Other winners, I think, is like Will Zillman, Anthony Don, probably someone else. Players Player, which is voted on by the players who they thought was the best, went to Brian Kelly. Our Rookie of the Year went to Josiah Pahulu. And our Members MVP, which was voted on by members, went to Jaden Campbell and Ivania Polite for our NRLW. What are your thoughts on those awards, mate? Were there any that you would change specifically from your opinion?
So I'm not going to really talk too heavily about the MVP and the Paul Broughton, because obviously we've done our Titans Frontline Finest, and I do want to say that there is a clear winner. But with that being said, I don't want to ruin it yet, which we'll probably go through next week and read out the poll from each week and give out that award to the player. So we won't talk too heavily on that. But obviously Keanu Kenny, I can understand why the club has gone with him. He was absolutely electric, and you've got to remember, he didn't play in the fullback position pretty much for the first half of the season. I understand the first couple of games, like Bulldogs and Dragons and Dolphins and whatnot, I believe he was there for the fullback. But after that, AJ took back over that spot when he got back from injury, and was there for 8 weeks, and he was crushing it, and he was killing it. And then AJ got injured, kind of comes back in, and he absolutely tore up for the rest of the season, which is a Desi. It's a Desi thing all day. He always loves a good fullback, and regardless who's been back there, it just seems like they have a good game. Even Jalen de Groot had a fantastic game when he came in as a fullback against the Newcastle Knights. So, yeah, I can definitely understand why Keanu has won that on behalf of the club. In regards to players player, Brian Kelly is always respected amongst the players. He definitely does have his rocks and diamonds moments that we do speak about quite frequently throughout the season. However, Brian Kelly is a very respected player within the club, and he does put his heart and soul into the game. And if it doesn't come off, it's because he's trying too hard and trying too much to actually win the game for us. So, Brian Kelly is a great bloke, and getting the Players Player Award must be really special for him coming from his own teammates. I think that's really impressive for him. In regards to the rookie, Josiah Pahulu, I don't think there's anybody that really could have gone against him, to be fair. One, he had a good season, but also two, Jalen de Groot only played the one game. Arama Howe only played the one game, the last game of the season. Keanu Kenny isn't eligible because he played a couple of games last year. Who else has really debuted this year for us?
No one's really jumping out to me. So Josiah Pahulu is the obvious choice. I think that much is fair. I think
it's the only choice.
Yeah, he's the only one that played more than 5 games, let's say, as a rookie for us. Arama Howe, Jalen de Groot. I'm trying to go through the year.
I don't think anybody else has debuted. I think we only debuted a couple late on, which makes sense because our season was done. But I think it was only Jalen and Arama, because Ryan Foran didn't debut. And Harley Smith-Shields would have, I guess, debuted. But with that being said, he's not a rookie. That's really about it, because Tom Weaver played last year. That's it.
One.
Yeah, so there we go. Josiah Paul-Hulu definitely deserved that one and would have probably deserved it anyway. And the members MVP of Jaden Campbell and Avanya Politi. The members MVP is always a very popularity contest because obviously members vote for, I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but I'm just saying members just vote for who their favourite player is. And I can very much understand why Avanya Politi is their favourite player for the NRLW, especially with the fact as well that people can actually directly have contact with her through membership. She actually works with membership department and whatnot. So I guess people also see that positivity there that she is within the club and working within the club. And that's really, really impressive. And then also with Jaden Campbell, what do you say? He is a son of a legend. He's making his own name as well now. He's adjusted from a fullback into a 5'8". And, we all know what happened in the Broncos and the Warriors game, specifically that Warriors game, which was incredible. And everyone loves JC. Everyone loves what JC provides to this club. So, yeah, everyone loves him and everyone loves Avanya Politi.
I think for me, Keanu Kenny is absolutely our best player this year in terms of the Paul Broughton medal. I expected him to win that. Realistically, I think other options would maybe be like a Kieran Foran, Beau Fermor. I'm just scrolling through now. Sammy Verrills has had a relatively strong year defensively. Chris Randall and Jojo Fafita. But I do think no matter who you put up against Keanu this year, he was awesome. As for the player's player, I don't agree with that, but I'm not a player, right? I'm a fan watching 80 minutes on the weekend, whereas the player's player is being voted on from the perspective of the group that is there 24/7, that is there at the club working day in, day out. They're at training. They're doing weights in the gym together. They're doing all these things, right? So I can't personally count my opinion too highly on that at all. Rookie of the year, absolutely Josiah Pahulu. I'm really excited about that because you think back to our preseason, he was one that we predicted, one that we were watching really closely in the trials. He was the captain of the Ipswich Schoolboys team who did awesome. And it was just great to see him kick on to that NRL level. And as for the members MVP, neither of those players would have been my vote. I would have voted Keanu, as I said, and probably for women, I would have went Lauren Brown to this point. But I can't disagree that both are great selections as well there.
I will point out there, however, that in regards to that members MVP and in regards to our frontline finest, I'm not going to say who. There is a very clear winner in regards to the NRL men's team. In the women's game, and I'm not going to ruin it for everybody here, but in the women's game, there are two women on top tied together, and then there is another one who is 1 point behind both of them. And there's another one who is 2 points behind the third place right now. So there is 4 players in our NRLW team that are on 17, 17, 16, and 14. So with 3 rounds to go, we'll obviously give more points today for our Eels game. But, with 3 rounds to go effectively, it is incredibly close. It's not as easy as you think. The men's, bit different. Women's game, really, really close.
100%, mate. Let's move on to the next bit of news, which is PBC winning the National Schoolboys Cup Premiership. So they won 18 points to 16 today, as of when we're recording, over Blacktown Patricia Brothers. The MVP, best on ground and tournament MVP was Zane Harrison, mate. I know you watched this game closely. Break down Zane's performance for us, please.
Zane was phenomenal. I tell you this right now, guys. We've spoken about Zane Harrison before. We shout him out on Instagram. We talk on this podcast. We've seen all the families talking about him, and the hype is real. And I will tell you right now, and I'll put my foot down here, and I'll do it Steve Mitchell with the 4 premierships by 2030, 2 for the men's and 2 for the women's. Zane Harrison will win us a premiership. Zane Harrison will win the Gold Coast Titans a premiership. I guarantee you. I absolutely guarantee you. He is an unbelievable talent, and I would say he's our best talent coming through the system that has the hype and deserves the hype that we've had in a very long time. I understand Keanu's come through, and I understand we've had a lot of players, in the past, but Zane is the position that we need. Zane is the one in the halfback that we are looking for. It will take a few years, guys. It will take a little while before he can come in, and maybe even, next year, dependent on how he does go with Tweed and whatnot, because he is starting to, really put himself in. He did debut with the under-19s New South Wales this year as well. Oh, no, sorry, he didn't. He was meant to be 14, but then they put him to 18th man, I think, late on that day. Next year, 2025, he will play as halfback. You see the Broncos, they're shouting out Kobe Black, and there's like a Mitch Wood or I'm not sure the other one, but I know it's Kobe Black. They are not as good as Zane Harrison. I truly don't believe it. You watch this game. obviously he set up the game winner, which was incredible. The kick on 4th tackle, I believe it was as well, with about a minute and a half to go. We were down by 8. PBC was down by 8 with about 10 minutes to go. I thought it was a little bit dodgy refereeing to get the Black Town Patricia brothers back into it. I thought their second last try was actually off a bad play the ball. And again, they were actually quite offside for the final last 10 minutes, but it was never called. But for Zane Harrison to, get the 2 try assists for the last 2 tries that got the win for PBC, he dragged them across the line. His defense was phenomenal. The whole game, he delivered what we know he can deliver. And this is yet another trophy to the cabinet because, as you've said before in the podcast, the amount of trophies this man has won at such a young age is phenomenal. And, it just goes to show that he won the player of the tournament and he also won the player of this game, which is just more medals and accolades. So I will get you excited. I will say this. If it blows up in my face, it blows up in my face. But I will tell you from what we see right now in 2024 on Wednesday, the 11th of September, we're going to win a premiership with Zane Harrison.
Mate, absolutely love it. I agree. He has shown a bit more promise so far than Kobe Black for the Broncos and Mitchell Wood for the Bulldogs there. So plenty of reasons to be excited. For me, I think he'll probably progress straight to reserve grade next year in the Host Plus Cup with our Tweed side, which is obviously exciting because he could either be partnering with maybe Tanner, maybe Tom Weaver, or maybe Carter Gordon stays at that level for a few weeks as well. So there's those options. Which is really exciting. And I think that will actually really help Tweed next year. I think we finished 3rd or 4th last this year. So we do need to improve. I think Zane will be a big reason why we do next year. And the other thing was that I thought of as soon as we won is we were kind of vindicated as a club because everyone was laughing at us last year when the Rabbitohs took Cbus off us and said, it's the Titans, they bungle it again. Classic Titans, they build all their pathways and it gets ruined. But the reality was Cbus wanted to be in a sole partnership with us. And the Titans weren't happy with that. So ultimately, we stayed with PBC, who didn't win the Schoolboy Cup that year. 1 year later, we do win the Schoolboy Cup, and we have our most promising halfback of all time on the Gold Coast.
I just want to jump in there quickly as well, because you said that obviously we didn't win it last year. We were in the grand final, and it wasn't against Cbus. Cbus didn't, I believe, make the finals, and they definitely didn't make the grand final because we lost to some New South Wales club, Westwood or West.
I think it was Lachlan Galvin's team.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think that. Yeah, it's very vindicating to say that because, and this is why Steve Mitchell, Dennis Watt, this is why we trust them. This is why we trust what our club is doing. Yes, the results haven't gone to plan. I'm telling you, there is a lot of good processes being put in place by this club, and that is a clear and defining show of confidence in Palm Beach Currumbin State High School comparatively to Cbus Park. And it's like, we would have loved to keep Cbus. Don't worry. We would have loved to keep him. But it was more so their choice than our choice. And we're not going to get rid of Palm Beach Currumbin and also Marsden, who are a very good school as well, to, be what one club needs us to be. So I'm really happy with the decision there. And I think that it definitely has vindicated us. And this is why they get paid the big bucks to make the big decisions.
Great call on last year as well. It was Westfield that won, and Lachlan Galvin got player of the game. And we know what he's done as an 18-year-old in the NRL. Would have won Rookie of the Year if not suspended. So fingers crossed Zane could even follow in his footsteps as early as next year. But obviously we don't want to pile the pressure on him. We want him to develop, and whenever he's ready, we think he'll be ready for a very long time. Other bits of news we've got around the club at the moment. Isaac Liu confirmed to be leaving. Reports suggest he signed with Lee Leopards in the Super League, and Erin Clark to the Warriors has been made official on a 3-year deal. So we lose both of them next year, and we will also lose Karina Brown. She's out at the moment with a calf injury, but she will be retiring from the NRLW at the end of this year. And this is only a rumor at this stage. No reports I've seen, but Matekino Gray is rumored to be signing with the Warriors for next NRLW season, mate. Anyone you want to focus in there that's leaving our club?
Well, I'd love to obviously say that I spoke to Isaac Liu after the game at the Panthers on Saturday, and I just wished him well. I think I was actually sitting with his mother-in-law up there in the family section as well, which was pretty funny. She's a funny lady. Get around her. I think her name was Deb, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry if I got that wrong there. But no, Isaac Liu is a great man, and has tried his best, and he was very respected within the club. And although he wasn't the most flashy player, and although it might not have worked out necessarily as we would have hoped or planned, best of luck to Isaac Liu. Anyone who pulls a jersey on for the Titans, I'll always love and appreciate. And obviously, I've seen and met and talked to Isaac many a time throughout his tenure here at the club. So I don't have the same viewpoint as everybody else in regards to, drop this man, fire him, get him out of here, throw him away. That's not my thought process. But I do understand in regards to the player critique that maybe he didn't exactly work out to be the case, but best of luck with him in the future. Erin Clark is obviously a real sad one there, the Warriors. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do there for New Zealand, but he was always going back home. Obviously, this it took a while to be announced. Like, we wanted to make sure it was announced before we went all in. But Erin Clark has gone back with his mum there to Auckland, where he's obviously from. And, best of luck to him. He's been a workhorse for us this year and really, really have been appreciative of his work. Karina Brown, illustrious career, fantastic player there for the NRLW. Obviously, she is retiring. And, as we'll talk about today, when the women's game gets on, we have been pieced apart by injuries this year to our team. Pieced apart by spine player injuries, by big-time player injuries, by wingers, by centers, you name it. We've had that injury, which will tell you a tale in regards to why our season hasn't gone to plan. But Karina Brown has been a big part of it, our club, and much best wishes for her going into her future endeavours. And in regards to Matekino Gray, I don't want this to be the case. It is just a rumour. I think we saw her Watch Her Footy, bringing it out there. Like, Matekino Gray is very young. She's more than likely going to win our Rookie of the Year. I would assume there is Lily Rose Colk, but I would assume Matekino Gray will probably get it. But with that being said, I don't want to lose her. But we'll see how that one does pan out.
I'll just focus it on Erin Clark, I think, for my take. And the only thing that I'm upset or disappointed in from a selfish perspective, and I'm only talking from the Titans club perspective here, in terms of Erin as the individual, very happy he gets to return home with his family, go home where he grew up and play for the team that he started with. I think that's awesome for him personally. But just for us, like, the Warriors got rid of him. They didn't want him, right? Because he was a depth halfback option for them, and they didn't think he was good enough. He only played one game for him, I think. We turned him into an exceptional middle forward. We also developed his skill set as a hooker as well. Yep. He's played for the New Zealand Kiwis whilst he's been with us as well. I think he's played for Samoa or Toa Samoa as well. So it's disappointing, right? I feel like we developed him. We made him the player that he is today. And the Warriors get to enjoy all that hard work. So disappointed in that regard, but for the individual, happy for Erin.
With that being said, though, as well, people should be excited about the prospect of making a signing, because Isaac Liu obviously was on whatever it is. I think the rumor was like $550K or something like that. Yeah. And then obviously, did you say more?
Yeah, he was the 9th highest paid lock in the league at $650K per a report done by News Corp last week.
Yeah, crazy. Okay, so 650. Well, that's even obviously better in regards to that. And then Erin Clark, I'm not too sure what he would have been on. Do you know what he was on?
He wasn't in the top 100, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, so at least right there, we've already got some money in the cap right now, guys. But just know there is also probably a couple of players that could still be leaving. You don't know. Like, for example, there is, Tommy Weaver, we don't know what's happening there. We don't know what's happening with Joey Stimo. We don't know what's happening with a couple of these guys. So right about now, that's a good chunk right there that we can obviously splurge with. But it just comes down to, Desi implementing his team and Desi implementing who he wants, because, Desi has not been able to implement what he wants. And the one signing he made in Harley Smith-Shields got injured. And also the other one was only a re-signing in Brian Kelly. So he's only made one actual signing, and he's been injured for most of this year in Harley Smith-Shields. So I'm looking forward and excited to what Desi does go into the future. But I was really happy with what Clark brought to the team. And we did develop him. But good luck in New Zealand, back home with your family.
100%. We've got cash to splash. Ezra, if you need someone to help out with the recruitment committee, bring me in, brother. I'll break out the data. We'll go through the spreadsheets, and we'll crunch the numbers, and we'll get a big signing over the line, Ezra, if you are
He'll have a restraining order on you very soon.
More than likely. Final bit of news, mate. 3 players out for the rest of the NRLW season with 2 rounds to go. Lauren Brown, broken hand. Niall Williams-Guthrie, Liz Frank, which is a foot injury, and Matekino Gray, shoulder injury. But we'll break that down when we preview our NRLW game. Let's recap the NRLW from last week, mate. We lose to the Eels 24 points to 14 at Eric Tweeddale Stadium. I'll kick us off here, mate, and I will say at the very start, I don't want to lie. I don't want to sugarcoat my feelings. So I want to be completely transparent here with our listeners. I think our NRLW season is over with that loss. I really think we needed that to stay in touch with the 4. That actually drops us to 7th on the ladder with a negative 23 for and against. Now, we have the Knights this week. They sit in 4th place, and we have the Raiders in our final game who are 8th. So our final game does loom as a winnable option, but I think this week will be very tough. In a perfect world, we need the Broncos, Cowboys, and Eels to all lose this week, and we would need to win. That would get us level at 8 competition points again and give us a chance to get into the finals. Let's not look ahead to round 9. Let's leave it as simple as that. Let's park that there and talk this game specifically now. I thought it was really soft, man. I really do. Some of their tries were just soft. Now, we had 59% possession. We had more meters. We had more post-contact meters, but we gave up 8 line breaks like it was nothing. It was just soft. Like the intensity that we needed in this game, given our season was on the line, it just wasn't where it needed to be. Now, we did come up with 15 offloads in this game, which if you guys remember back to my preview of this game, that was my key to victory. Offload the ball, let's attack, let's pressure the Eels that way. And we still completed fairly well at 82%. So it went really well in that regard. We won the middle. Our forwards were beating their forwards. Everything we got wrong last round, we corrected. But for some reason, when we spent that time and energy correcting that part of our game, we completely fell away with our defensive edge. And we came up against an undisciplined Eels side. You know, they gave away plenty of penalties, ruck infringements, errors. They weren't perfect either. And I guess why I'm most disappointed in this loss in particular, because it kind of does either end our season or at the minimum make it really tough to play finals from here. And every week, Blaze, when we've been recapping these games, we've been talking about areas we need to improve. And we came into this season as like realistic premiership chances, as grand finalists from the year before, ready to compete for a title. And albeit injuries haven't gone our way, injuries aside, I feel like in our recaps, more often than not, we have been saying areas we need to improve quickly. And that's what's disheartening, and that's what upsets me the most, I suppose. I think this game was the cherry on top of what has been a relatively underwhelming season from our NRLW side. But I do want to defend them as well, because I feel like we've sat through a lot of, what's the word? Maybe not mediocre. Maybe that's too tough. Maybe underwhelming fits as well. We've sat through a lot of underwhelming results in the NRL this year. And we're also patiently waiting for the NRLW because we knew how awesome our team was last year and hoping that would replicate itself, and it hasn't. So maybe I am being a bit too harsh from that perspective, mate. But being fully transparent, I was hugely disappointed with this loss, mate. What was the atmosphere like there, and how do you break this one down for us?
Yeah, big shout out to any Titans fan who did actually attend this game. We outnumbered the Eels fans, and it wasn't actually close, and we absolutely outchanted them. I know the Eels can put up on their NRLW page that Kennedy Charrington was the life of the party, but I can tell you right now that was in spurts, because our Titans fans absolutely dominated. And it was so good to see when Lauren Brown came over at the end of the game and said how awesome we were in regards to the noise. You know, all the girls were coming over and talking about just how quality we were in regards to, you know, trying to get us over the line. And Shay Lee was even saying at one time that the Titans chant was so loud because the way that the Eric Tweedale Stadium was built was like wood, and it just really helped the atmosphere. And she was saying like it was really strong and really loud, and they could hear it across the entirety of the field. So really impressed here by the Titans turnout there at Eric Tweedale Stadium. Unfortunately, this game, we dominated the entire game and lost. We dominated the entire game and we lost. And it's just as simple as that. We were in the lead until like the last 7 minutes or so. And then the Eels scored off a broken down play down the left-hand wing with just a little bit too much pace. I do think Ivania Politi probably bit too hard on the in cut rather than going out and protecting the wing there, because I did think we had someone on the inside. But either way, it's not her fault, because she's the fullback and she has to make. It's a really difficult decision in that regards. But it was a broken down play. It was a broken down play. They got the try. That kills the momentum there for the Titans. That crushes the hopes. And then they go and score again. It's game over. Right? So I don't think that this game was as bad as this scoreline represents, because, again, I do think that we dominated throughout. We just couldn't put the final touches on it, you know, and I'm not using this as an excuse, but I am also providing it as another opinion here into regards why we have struggled in key areas this year. you go through our injuries, man. You've got Matekino, who's now injured. You've got Lauren Brown, who's now injured. You've got Shante Kirioaratu, who did an injury before the season even started. Obviously, we debuted a centre in this game, Serena Masanga, who was absolutely phenomenal, mind you. I really enjoyed her play. She came in. She just really put a big shift in regards to playing in the centres. She's actually listed as a second row here as well. We've had Riley was injured at the beginning of the year. We've also had Sienna Lafippo injured for quite a big part of the year. Obviously, she's back in the 5'8" right now, but she's more of a lock, and more of a 14, really. But she has been shoved into that 5'8" role, and it's because of the injury to Shante Kirioaratu. Zara Canfield's been out for a big part of this year. Destiny Mino-Sinapatu, who was our best player nearly last year. One of our best players last year was the wing of the year, she was maybe rookie of the year. She's been out injured with an ACL, I believe it was, before the season started. And we haven't even got to Talia Fumaono, who's been injured at points. Noel Williams-Guthrie is now injured as well. What's that, sorry?
Riley Jorgensen's been out as well at times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Riley as well. Another one, we made a signing of Ivana Lonosio, who was actually banging the drum last week at the Sharkies game. Lovely woman, gets around it, really passionate about this team, but she was injured before the season started. She went down. And then you've also got Jamie Chapman, who has been playing with an injury all season. So whilst I'm not going to sit here and say that, it's all the injuries and that's the excuses, because at the end of the day, we should have next man up mentality or next woman up mentality, where regardless of who we put in, they should be able to do the job. I do feel like injuries have been an incredible part of this season, where we just have not been able to get any kind of rhythm because we've had to just change things up here, there, and everywhere. The Eels have been a better team this year. They have been comparatively to previous years, especially when they came last year. But again, I think that we lost this game. I really do. I think we lost it rather than them winning it, because we honestly should have put some big points behind this team. And it's definitely disappointing. It's definitely disappointing. But I will say that Ngata Kotoru Arakua was fantastic in this game. I thought she did great. Really happy to see Noel Williams-Guthrie get on the try sheet as well before her injury. And it just didn't go to plan, unfortunately. It didn't go to plan, but we got to see a very good debutant as well in Serena Masanga, which is a positive.
Yeah, there was a few positives, no doubt. Like, if we weren't going into this game as kind of a must-win with wanting to be premiership contenders this year, then there were positives in this game. It wasn't all negative. I suppose the biggest thing I would say as my final word was, we corrected what we needed to last round, but then let another area of our game slip, which absolutely sucked. And then another word on the injury toll, as you said, like, Jamie Chapman is our best player, and most people would agree she came into this season injured because she had the same bandages in the Origin series. So even players that weren't per se injured for chunks of the season came in with pre-existing injuries. So it sucks, man. It's been a tough year in the NRLW also. But let's kick it over to our NRL recap, mate, where the Panthers defeat us 18 points to 12 at Penrith Park. All I can say, and I mean this in the best way possible, thank God it's over. Like, I love my team. I love this community, but I just can't keep watching, man. I can't. Now, like, there are positives from this game. There are positives, but I don't take too much from it. And this could be part of me being bitter from it being a long season. So pull me up if you think I'm being too bitter in my take.
How about I'll speak quickly and then we'll go through your points, because so that I can kind of go back and we can go back and forth, because I do want to actually want to talk about quite a few positives beforehand. So you got that?
Let's keep it positive, and then negative Clark can come in at the end.
Well, it's about, like, obviously starting it off with a bang, saying like it was a good performance, and then also going into the critique part, because I would rather, like, we could obviously finish off with a positive, but look, this was my first ever time here in Penrith. I thought that this actually completed. Not only did it complete me going to every game this season, but it completed all my main stadiums. I haven't been to Wagga Wagga, I haven't been to Darwin and whatnot, but I completed all the main stadiums in the NRL, and I thought that people got to remember as well going into this game. This was potentially the last ever game being hosted at Penrith Park. If they had lost this game, they wouldn't get a home final at Penrith Park, and they are demolishing it at the end of this season, and they'll be Commbank from next year for a couple of years until the new stadium gets built. James Fisher-Harris's 200th. It could have possibly been Sonia Torova's, Jerome Luai's, and there was another player as well, Fisher-Harris as well. It could have been their last ever game at the Panthers home ground as well. It was also Old Boys Day, and that's something you never back against the home team. They were playing as well to finish second and get a home final. If they had lost, the Roosters would have been in second, and they would have to travel to Allianz rather than that. So they needed to win this game. Everything was in their favour. Our season's done. All that, we've got debutantes, we've got players out, Fafita's out, everything. And we still competed. We still absolutely competed. And you could make an argument that there were some incredibly poor calls, in my personal opinion, that also impacted the fact that we could have actually won this game. It even came down to the last play. It wasn't a great kick from Foran, that's for sure. But it even came down to the last play where, we kick it through, and unfortunately it didn't work out. But, Loffy, that was a fantastic performance. I thought that defensively, he's really improved his game. I think that Loffy has really started to improve his defense, that's for sure. And that's towards the back end of this year. He has been really, really poor in his defense in the past. I think that he's definitely starting to improve that section of the game. However, obviously, BK and him cannot be together next year. We've spoken about this last week. They cannot be a partnership next year in regards to that, because there is just too much defensive inability between the two of them collectively throughout the season that we've seen so far. But we'll deep dive analysis into that in a following podcast either next week or the week after. There was, I thought Tanner was pretty good for the most part. Obviously, he did make that mistake, but overall, we shouldn't have actually been looking at positives from this game. Everyone expected us to lose by 60. Everyone expected us to get absolutely whooped, but we gave it a crack. We turned up. We showed that effort. We showed that passion. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, you don't want to go into the end of the season and lose by 50. You go into the end of the season and lose by 50 like the Broncos into the Storm, or the Tigers lost by 60 to the Eels in a spoon bowl. You go through the rest of that 5-6 months before the next season starts, or before preseason, and you're like, well, this sucks. We just came off our last game that I watched, we got slapped. But instead, I now go into this offseason saying, we just competed with the team that's won 3 premierships in a row at their home stadium with everything in their favour, sold out crowd. We competed with them, and we have players out, and we made it close. So I'm happy with, and I'd say I'm more content with. There is definitely errors that need to be brought up. We definitely need to see, Cleese Haas get rid of those errors in his game. We definitely need to see some of these brain fade decision-making get rectified. And we still definitely need to see our defense be stronger, because I know it was 18 points to the Panthers, but there is still some inefficiencies that we're seeing. But it's something that we've been saying all season. It's not the collective defensive efficiency. It is the individual lapses that happen in games. We said that since round 1, and we're here in round 27 saying the same thing. So that's the positives that I've got from this game. Go on, Mr. Negative Clarkey.
Well, I hate to be that guy, but I don't see it the same. I think for the Panthers, they were so far from their best, it's not funny. And I know you brought up all those reasons why they should have turned up at home and really put in a strong performance. But the Panthers side has been in cruise control since round 22. They've got bigger things to worry about. They didn't treat us like a proper opposition. And the reason I think that is we were just a step behind them the whole game. They had 15 errors, we had 16. They gave away 4 penalties, we gave 7. They missed 31 tackles, we missed 34. They had 3 line breaks, we had 2. And you go through and you look at the stats from this game, the team stats, it's just reflective of a side that was always one step ahead in the Panthers. And for that reason, I don't think they felt the need to put the foot on the throat. They were happy just to get... We did, but it doesn't change the fact that for the Panthers here, for them to beat us, they don't need to play 10 out of 10. And they didn't. Like, the Panthers that turned up against us was probably like a 6 out of 10, what they're capable of. This is a side that, let's call a spade, right? If they put in the most effort they can, Penrith beat every side in this competition, and they destroy most of them. Particularly, like, let's call it again. Are we a bottom 4 side? I think we finished in the bottom 4 again.
4th last, yeah.
4th last. So sliding were we 4th last year or 3rd last?
Exact position, yeah.
Exact position. So, bottom 4 side that's been there for 2 years in that position. I just think the Panthers just did not take us seriously. So I don't take too many positives from this at all. I really don't. And to be absolutely honest, and I hate to be so negative, but I want to ask this question to yourself and our listeners. If we were at our best against the Panthers, let's say, right? And if we are this good and we can compete with the 3-time winning premiers and the Panthers at their home stadium with all this to play for, like you said, they have plenty of reasons to turn up. Why did we lose 44-0 to the Sharks at home when we needed to keep building that win streak to make the finals? Why did we concede 32 points to the Dragons, who couldn't win a meat raffle since they beat us? Why did we concede 48 points to the Roosters on Membership Appreciation Day? Why did we allow the Knights to score double their season average on us and beat us there? Like, for me, it just doesn't cut it, mate. I think have your say on that first. Can you call out any key reason why you think that might be?
Absolutely. The reason why is because we went 0-6. We went 0-6 to start the season, and that is unacceptable. That is not good. That is deplorable. And the boys know this. The team knows this. The organisation knows this. Desi Hasler knows this. We know this. So going 0-6 meant we had to chase the season from the 7th round because we had a bye in between. So from the 7th round, we needed to chase the season hard. Then we obviously went and beat New Zealand over there in New Zealand, which was great. We had a couple of really tough matches that we had to then play against like the Melbourne Storm and whatnot, which we did compete in. And people got to remember, we were really close in a lot of these games. Raiders game, the Knights game, Magic Round, which we should have actually won, same with the Raiders. The Melbourne Storm game, the Manly game, all these games. Even Cowboys was close, even though we lost 13+ in the end. It was close because it only blew out because of the intercept to Kyle Felt. Where they then took it past a 6-point game to a 12-point game, then Chad Townsend kicked the field goal. All these games were really, really close. So we were actually competing, but we just weren't bought into the Desi culture yet. We weren't bought into it. So we're now 0-6. I think we might have been like 1-9 or whatever it was at one point. And from that point onwards, our season was well and truly done and dusted. So for us to then be able to turn that around and to go those 5 out of 6, because you've got to remember as well, is that after beat the Broncos, which was amazing, we then go into a 2-game stretch where we get absolutely humiliated by the Tigers and humiliated by the Rabbitohs and then Tigers, which were last at the time. So there are very much negatives that we'll speak about in future podcasts that we do need to really come back for. But then we go 5 out of 6 games in games that we needed to win to keep our hope alive. And we beat the Sharks team. I know we get conceded 44-0 later on. We then compete. We weren't ready yet to make the finals. And I think that once that Broncos game, and I outlined this on the podcast before the Broncos game or after the Broncos game, saying this is probably our grand final. We did speak about this. We said this is probably the grand final. We're more than likely going to struggle from here on out. Obviously, we still have that faith and hope and belief in the club, but it was more than likely our grand final, which it was. And then we go and get pumped because we had to put every bit 100% effort into every single game. You couldn't have like a rest game where, like the Panthers can have and the Storm can have, where if they lose, it's about whatever. We're still first, we're still second, all this type of stuff. They have the luxury of that because they set themselves up at the beginning part of the season, which is not what we could do. And that was because of the adjustments and because of so many things that we had to buy into Desi's plan, which I truly believe we have now. But I just think that once that Broncos game came, we checked out and unfortunately, we got absolutely slugged, and especially losing 44-0 at home. That was absolutely awful to be at and to watch, that's for sure. But especially losing 44-0, that was always going to be set in stone for the rest of the season to really struggle because the boys then knew, guaranteed, we're gone. That was humiliating. We're getting slapped here, there, and everywhere. Our bodies are tired from a big year. There's nothing really to play for anymore. We can't finish last. We can't finish first. We can't finish 8th. And then, unfortunately, like you and me, like the fans, you can check out. And you can be like, okay, here's a game. I'll watch it. I'll do it. Just like they'll be like, okay, here's a game. I'll play it. I'll do what I can. But you're not really that invested in doing anything. It's just about maybe surprise if you can. So I think that this season, and again, we'll speak about this in another podcast, but this season 100% is summarized by rounds 1 to 7.
Oh, look, I really appreciate your perspective there. And I do agree in a lot of ways. The only area I kind of disagree was we did see the improvements under Des Hasler until that Sharks game. And I'll tie this into why I think the Panthers weren't at their best. For me, if either we say that we competed really well against the Panthers and it was great to see, or we admit, and sorry, if that happens, it means that the team didn't turn up for Des for an entire month, which I just don't think we're capable of doing. I don't think we're capable of doing that. Or it's, the Panthers weren't at their best. And I just think that's a more likely scenario than us not turning up for a whole month flat out even though
we
our
were
season
like a
was
6
over.
out of 10 in this game as well. We were a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 in this game as well. I wouldn't say that we were like great in this game. Like, of course, the Panthers weren't at their best, and then also we weren't at our best. But even people came into this. I think the handicap was minus 18.5. So people did expect the Panthers to absolutely slap us. I think you even predicted on your podcast, The Tripod, that we were, the minus 18.5 was. That's what I'm saying. So,
That's the
it's not our fault.
line I've seen this year.
It's not our fault that the Panthers have not played their best game, because there absolutely was parts in our defense that we did keep holding them out. And our defense, again, that we said throughout the season, the collective effort is there. The defensive efficiency is there. It's the individual lapses that provide the try, which then put us on the back foot. So I do get where you're coming from. I'm not saying that you are wrong, because you are entitled to your opinion. And I'm not saying that I'm right. I am entitled to my opinion. The listeners can take your parts from him and parts from me and piece it together yourselves. But I do think that I would say that is definitely more of a, and this isn't, I'm not trying to insult you here, but I'm just saying, like, I definitely feel like that would be a glass half empty approach rather than the half full approach, which I do feel like the half full approach must be had. Otherwise, you will always be thinking in a negative light about things that can be twisted into a positive. But I will also say that I also hate, and I really dislike this, how at the end of the game, and I'm not calling anybody out specifically here, but at the end of the game, when people go at the back to talk to the players or they're on the side and whatnot, people are like, oh, you played fantastic, or you played great, you were really good in this game. And I don't agree with that. I think you should go up and say, good game, man, like, I was really happy to watch you. We gave it a crack kind of deal. But if a player doesn't have a good game, they know it. So you're kind of having this real false interaction with this player where, they obviously appreciate the support, and you can show your support without saying, oh, you played great, because you don't want to set that standard. We don't want that standard to be set, which is kind of what Clarkey's saying here, in the sense that the standard is that we think, or that he believes is our team at the moment, was set towards the back end of the year rather than in play. Is that what, do you know what I'm saying?
I'm just trying to think how I can kind of break it down in a more simple way, because I do acknowledge I went a little bit all over the shop. I think that we showed really great improvement under Des. That then disappeared for the past 4 weeks prior to this Panthers game. It came back for the Panthers game. So I'm thinking either those 4 weeks we didn't show up for our coach, which I refuse to believe. So I think the biggest issue as to why we were able to compete in this game was because the Panthers played poorly. Now, you can still take positives from that, but I'm just at the stage of the season where I think that even if we did show improvement, it's too little too late, and I just didn't care too much for it, if that makes sense.
Well, I understand. I think that what we should do is we should hold it here, and then when we have more time to really deep dive into the rounds 1 through 7, and then rounds 8 through you can really pick apart that point, and then you can put them into collective areas of the season, and you can see how many collective areas were positive comparatively to how many collective areas were negative. Because if you look at the pure results right now, you go back and have a look and you say, we were 0-6, 0-7, or whatever it was. And the thing is that if you actually look within that, there is a couple of games like the Manly game, like the Raiders game, like the Cowboys game, where you can pick and say there is actually positives in that really were starting to deliver, but the results showed a negative. And then you go back and you go to the forward part of the season at this back end of the year, but you look at that 5 out of 6, and obviously the Manly game was a real frustrating one, but we were the better team for the first 30 before, unfortunately, we kind of fell away from what we were delivering. So, and the back end of the year, the Knights game was awful. The Roosters game was, we actually did pretty well for the most part, and then unfortunately just fell away, as we do tend to do. But I think that, we hold it here because it does need a lot more in-depth discussion into regards to the collective efforts throughout specific periods.
Definitely. I think the best way to do that is, like you said, we'll break it down into specific periods. We'll come up with a creative name for that period of the season. And we'll break down where it went wrong, where it went right, where we could have been better, and call it any key moments from it, mate. All right, let's keep it positive now, though. Let's finish on a positive with our 3-2-1s from the weekend. Let's start with the NRLW. I will go first. My 3 points goes to Serena Masanga, who I thought was amazing on debut. Had 10 tackle breaks there, and I think that's really exciting because whether due to injury or not, Riley Jorgensen hasn't been the same off the interchange for us this year as she was last year. And potentially Serena could become that player for us. We saw her slot into the centres, and we saw her and we know she's a back row rather. So it does have that versatility to her game. Really excited for our future at our club. Brilliant debut, and more than happy to give her my 3 points, mate. Who's going to get yours?
Yeah, it has to go to Serena Masanga. I thought that she was fantastic, on debut, which is really, really impressive and was clearly our best player in this game. Every time she had the ball, it was so dominant. It was so strong. Made a bucket load of run meters. She was fourth for run meters behind Shannon Marto, Jess Ellison, and Politi, who both had the same amount of run meters, 155. And then she had 142 with 69 post contact. And she was playing the centers. So those post contact, and she's listed as a back rower on the website. So yeah, she comes in and 10 tackle breaks is absolutely insane. Like that's 4 more than Avanya Politi, who usually does a cracker amount of tackle breaks. And then 2 offloads, and only missed the 1 tackle there. So, yeah, I thought this was a really, really impressive performance here by Serena. She definitely is looking very promising going into the future. And maybe this may see a change in regards to our backline. I'm not too sure if she is as consistent like this, because obviously the loss of Karina Brown there, I'm not too sure how guaranteed Karen Murphy would be on, Emily Bass, Jamie Chapo, Nolan Guthrie, and necessarily Georgia Gray. I think that it could be things that they could work through in this offseason. So, yeah, I was really impressed by Serena Masanga, and I'll give her my 3 points.
Make a mental note. We will do a recruitment and retention special episode in the offseason as well for NRL and NRLW. My 2 points goes to Jess Elliston. I thought she had her strongest game of the season, right up there with 150-plus meters in the middle, and then also had 22 tackles with 0 missed. I really want to narrow in on the 0 miss because we did give up 8 line breaks that were just unacceptable. Jess, obviously, not a part of that with a perfect 0 miss there. So Jess gets my 2 points. I think it might be the first time she's scored points this year, which is very surprising because I rate her highly. Who gets your 2 points, though?
I'm just going to make sure, actually, to see if she has received any points. Yeah, no, she hasn't. No. She hasn't received any points by the season. So crazy stuff there, but I'm giving Jess Ellison my 2 points as well. I thought that she was fantastic. 2 tackle breaks in this game, 155 meters, which is the second highest for the game, with 75 post contact, which is basically half of her meters were from post contact, which is just really, really impressive there. And like you said, the defensive side of things, she's actually the only player on this team that did not miss a single tackle in this game. Everyone else at least missed 1. So really good defensive work there, really big attacking work there. And this is the 1-2 punch with her and Shannon Marto. Shannon Marto has been getting some big points throughout this season. She also ran for a great deal of meters too, Shannon Marto, don't get me wrong. But I think it's just that real massive defensive effort of not missing a single tackle that gets Jess the chocolates.
And my 1 point goes to Avanya Politi. I had the try assist, 6 tackle breaks. Thought she had another great game. Always looked dangerous, floating around the field. So I thought Politi was my 1 point. Who gets yours?
I'm going to actually give a different 1 point here. And the stats may not show it, but I thought that the small part of the game that she was on for was just absolutely phenomenal and a real game changer. And that's Ngata Kotoru Arakua. I'm going to give her the 1 point. Scored a try in this game, which was the one to take us into the lead. She had 64 run meters through 9 runs for 25 post contact and a line break. Had a massive whopping 7 tackle breaks in this game. Only played the 21 minutes. So all these stats I'm saying right now is only in 21 minutes, and had 10 tackles with 2 missed, which is, really, really good for a girl of her size that really just puts in every bit of effort and in that short little time period. So although the stats may not be, as much as Avanya Politi and you might see better stats out of like Shannon Marta or whatnot, I do think that and even Laika Clark, who had a really impressive 38 minutes there with 114 meters and 60 post contact. But I do think that Ngato Kotoru Arakua was phenomenal in this game and changed the way we were looking.
Yeah, definitely had huge impact, mate. I'll let you start with NRL. Who gets your 3 points from our Panthers game?
My 3 points is going to go to a man so deserving who has been there with me every single game. He has played every single game this season. It is Mr. Versatility, Chris Randall. It is Chrissy Randall. I thought that he was absolutely so strong. Played 80 minutes for 112 meters running, which is a lot more than what he usually does. Usually he's around the 60 mark, sometimes even the 20 mark. But in this game, he's doubled what he normally gets with 112 with 47 post contact. But you go and have a look at the defensive effort. 46 tackles for just the 2 missed. I'm really impressed by the stamina that Chris Randall has. I'm really impressed. Like, you can see very clearly that if he's tired on the field, you can see it. But with that being said, Chris Randall for 80 minutes in this game, really, really impressive stuff. He's done this all throughout the season. And I'm sorry, but no one can convince me that the Knights won that trade. No one can convince me that Greg Martiu and the Newcastle Knights was the better side of the Chris Randall to the Gold Coast Titans trade.
No, absolutely agree with that, mate. My 3 points went to Jaden Campbell. I thought he scored an awesome try. Bang off the left foot, bang off the left foot again. See you later, Liam Martin, Origin defender. See you later, Dylan Edwards, Origin and Kangaroo. Martin's a Kangaroo as well. So, yeah, beat 2 absolute world-class rep players that have been in the Panthers' last 3 premierships with a solo try that really is important because you don't see those sort of tries against the Panthers ever. The last player that's really like stood up Panthers, that sort of footwork, is like a Reece Walsh, who had an incredible season last year. So awesome work by Jaden. I love that try. And he's going to get my 3 points. Who is going to get your 2 points?
Yeah, I'm giving it to JC. I think that, JC in this game, tackle breaks, played like a fullback that we know he can play, but it's just that our club is so difficult right now with the fact that we have Keanu Kinney, Jaden Campbell, AJ Brimson, Jalen the Group, you name it, they're all here. So, yeah, it was a really, really good performance there for him to go back to a position that he wasn't being trained in. And the reason why, by the way, guys, is because Jalen de Groot actually did, I think, his hammy or tweaked a calf or something like that the day beforehand on Friday. I was talking to him at the game. So, yeah, it's unfortunate because he obviously would have gone straight into that fullback position. They would have kept JC in the 6. But, the footy gods weren't kind to him on this day. And they did. He was injured coming into this game. So that's why they shifted JC there. And Tanner came into the 6. But, yeah, I give JC my 2 points.
My 2 points went to Sam Verrills. I can just tell this guy comes from great stock. Obviously, his father's got some powerful genes there.
Very debatable. Very debatable.
I thought Sammy was awesome with 58 tackles in the middle there against the 3-time reigning premiers. So Sammy definitely put in a huge stint in the middle. He has plenty of times this year. I was going through today, Blaze, and I was doing the highest stats in an individual game throughout the season. And Sam Verrills was so close to that top 10. He made over 50 tackles that many times. It wasn't funny. But I don't think he officially got there.
I think this is, by the way, this is the first time you've actually, so I was actually looking at this. I think, so Sam Verrills so far this season, it's not going to ruin anything, right? Sam Verrills coming into this game on our Frontline's finest received 9 points. I think he may have given him 2 points at one stage. Or maybe, I don't know if you have. So it's really good to see that you and this is not a shot at you, but I'm just saying that this is one of the first times you've really kind of shouted at Sam Verrills. So it's really good to see.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And thank you, Sam. Keep it up, brother. But to my point of the highest individual stats from a game, Beau Fermor is 10th this year with 60, and Chris Randall was actually 9th with 61. So this is just a normal game for Sammy Verrills, but he was 2 off making the top 10 this year for the most tackles in a game. So I think that sums up. It was a huge stint for the son of Mark. Who gets your 1 point, though?
Muppet. He's a great bloke. Look, I'm going to actually give him my 1 point. And I think that 58 tackles is absolutely monumental. And I can completely understand. It's like the reason why I guess I gave Chris Randall, I went with my voting. I usually either vote Chris Randall or Sam Verrills because they are very similar players, as we always speak about. They bring very similar attributes, but I just thought that it was really impressive to shout at Chris Randall on the attack in this game with 112 plus also the defensive efforts. That's why I kind of went with Chrissy Boy over Sammy. But Sammy with 58 tackles, he's going to get my shout out. I definitely want to shout that out because that is a monumental effort there, absolutely monumental. But I can't go past Jojo Fafita in this game. I can't go past giving him a point. I thought that he was so impactful in regards to, safety out of the high ball. He ran for 114 meters with 38 post contact. He had a line break assist. He had a couple of tackle breaks, 9 tackles made with no miss. And I don't think that necessarily the stats show how important he was in this game. I thought that he really was very, very quality. And I've been... And we'll talk about this on a awards kind of night that we do here, but I'm going to ruin it. He's definitely my most improved player by far. I think that he's really bought into the Desi stock, and it's been really, really good to see for Jojo.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you look at Des Hasler and the players he's had under him at the Bulldogs and Manly Sea Eagles over the years. Typically, every year, one player breaks out. We've seen it with Tom Travojevic, Ruben Garrick, At the Bulldogs, someone like Corey Thompson, who was a bit of an NRL journeyman, had a great season under Des. Curtis Rona went on to play for the Wallabies after being with under Des. Like every year, an outside back, Moses Mbai broke out under Des. I'd love to go back and actually make a list of outside backs that have broken out in a season under Des. And we all thought it'd be Jaden Campbell this year, but it was actually Keanu Kinney and Jojo Fafita, you could say. So awesome job there. My 1 point, Chrissy Randall, as you said, 100 plus meters and still 46 tackles. Huge effort on both sides of the ball, and I absolutely appreciate that. Alrighty, mate, we're over the hour mark, but we still have an NRL preview to get to. And of course, if we do play finals in NRLW, and at minimum next week, we will keep previewing and recapping our NRLW side. We're at Cbus Super Stadium this Saturday at 1:45 p.m. and we host the Knights in what can only be described as a must-win game. Key changes for this one. Leilani Montgomery, she moves to halfback. Lauren Brown is out. Our centers are Jamie Chapman and Talia Fuimeano. That's because Niall Williams-Guthrie is out. And Lily Rose Kolk, she joins the bench with Matekino Gray out. I'll let you go first for your breakdown, mate. It's going to be a tough game, but do you give us a chance?
I always give us a chance, man. I think it's very, very tough, that's for sure. There's no debate about that one. We're not as much underdogs as I would have actually expected, to be completely honest with you. I don't know if there's actually a great deal of value in the odds of $2.35, to be fair. Not that we're talking and encouraging gambling here on this pod. But with that being said, of course, give us a chance. Like I'm going to do my best on the drums. I'll get the drums going to make them drop the ball the Knights, which is what I did with the Sharks multiple times. I actually dropped the ball quite a few times when she's back in that corner. I just went, buddy, got right into it, and it really did help out there, even though we did get punched in the mouth in that Sharks game. But no, I think that we definitely can compete with them here. I don't think the Knights are the same team that they have been in previous years. I think that obviously they're going to really want to win this, and I will go to the ladder here and say we definitely, absolutely need to win this game. Actually, it makes it mathematically impossible otherwise. But if we won this game, we would go equal with the Knights on 8 points. Obviously, our points differential, we would need to win by about 30-odd to go above the Knights, to be fair. But the Cowboys, they play the Roosters, and the Eels play the Raiders. So I would expect the Eels to win that game, but their points differential is not that great. So please, Raiders, do us a favour there and don't lose by that much. But also the Cowboys playing the Roosters, I don't see a world the Cowboys win that game. I think the Roosters are a bit better than them, to be completely honest with you, especially coming off the back of them beating the Sharks, who were undefeated coming into the game against them there. So, and then you go and have a look. I'll just quickly go have a look here at the draw for next week to see what we would be looking for. Obviously, we play the Raiders there, which we obviously would need to win. The Eels play the Roosters. That's really beneficial to us because that means that the Eels more than likely will lose another game. The Knights play the Cowboys, so we do need that Cowboys loss this week. Or to be fair, one of those two teams, no, we do want that Cowboys loss this week so we can jump the Cows. Cows can beat, hopefully, the Knights, and that will knock the Knights out there. We do have a lot that we need to look at. Broncos will beat the Dragons, and Sharks will beat the Tigers. So realistically, our only hope right now making those finals is by jumping over them Knights, and we need them to lose both their last two games. Luckily, one of them's against us, and we win both our last two games. And I'm pretty confident if that happens, if that situation unfolds, I believe we make the finals. Do I think we win the comp? I would say it's a very minimal chance. I would go like a literal 5% chance or 3% chance, whatever you want to do. I'm pretty confident that if that situation unfolds, we make the finals. But with that being said, we've got too many injuries, and it's just too mucked around for us to actually go and win the comp this year. But it would be still good to make the finals and have a bit of fun.
It'd be great to make the finals, mate. But looking inwards at our team with the injuries this year, I don't think we'll be able to build that consistency. So I do have concerns for this game. Looking outwards towards the Knights, yes, they haven't been the same side this year, but just looking at a few shared opponents we have, they did beat the Roosters, who we did also. They only lost by 2 points to the Sharks, who did take care of us quite easily. They beat the Eels by 20 points.
On score-wise, yes, but I wouldn't say the Sharks did away with us easily. The game wasn't over until the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I always felt we were one step behind, though. Like, I never felt that I didn't feel comfortable we were going to win, I suppose. Whereas
no, absolutely not. But I just wouldn't say that they comfortably did away with us. But I'd say the scoreline reflects that. But we were still in the game. But I didn't feel like we were going to win it. But we were still in it, is what I'd say.
Well, at minimum, the Sharks did get the win over us. They also beat the Knights, but it was by 2 points at home. So that probably is a bit closer than what I was making out there. That's fair. At Eric Tweeddale Stadium, which we just lost at to the Eels, they beat them by 20. They also put the Tigers to the sword, winning by 28. And they lost to the Broncos last round 24-32. Now, I guess that's where my primary concern comes from this year, in the sense that our attack hasn't been good. It hasn't been where it needs to be. Even when the Knights are losing these games like they did last round, they still scored 24. Then in the last game, it was 34. Then it was 36. You know, the only games that they've been held to low scores this year was in round 1. They only scored 10. Round 3, they only scored 10. And round 4, they only scored 12. Every other game, they have scored at least 24 points. So they really do have great attack. And when I look at our attack for this game, here's where my concern lies. I feel Lauren Brown was the glue that was holding our attack together, particularly in her running game, her passing game, and her kicking game. The 3 most important things you want from a halfback, right? And when I look at Leilani Montgomery, who comes into the 7 here and plays fullback predominantly in reserve grade for Manly, she only had 2 runs from the bench last week. She moves into halfback. Now, fair enough, you can say, look, she had limited minutes. That's why she only had 2 runs. But she did play in the halves for us the first game when Talia Fuimayano was suspended, where she only took 3 runs. So, although she is a fullback by trade, it seems she hasn't been able to mix her running game with her passing game in the halves for us this year. Onto her halves partner, which is Sienna Lefippo. She is a running half because she is more of a lock forward now. And we saw last year, but because she's a running half, it didn't work with Shante Kirioratu at all for us. We had to change Lauren Brown into the halves there. So I just feel with Lauren Brown gone, we lose all control of our attack. We lose a kicking game and we lose a goal kicker. Those are all 3 very important things when we're coming up against the Knights side that can score fast, as we've seen. Not only that, they have won their last 3 games in a row over us. Although we have won 4 of our last 5 at Cbus, our last loss was to the Knights at this ground. They are averaging more points than us this year, and they are conceding less points than us also. Aside from Caitlin Johnston-Green, their representative prop forward, they are close to full strength.
Question in regards to the stat that you just said, which was the Knights. So we've lost the Sharks. I'm pretty certain the last game was the Roosters, which was the last time we lost last year at Cbus. Am I not mistaken?
I thought the Knights one was after that. Maybe I'm mixing the games up though.
So we played the Knights in Newcastle last year. So I think you're mixing it up because I think we lost the Knights the year before that at Cbus Super Stadium, the year that we I think got the spoon. Maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah, potentially, I have mixed that up. I didn't double check that, so I could have.
We lost to the Knights and the Roosters in consecutive weeks last year, but I'm pretty certain that the one that we lost the Knights was at McDonald Jones Stadium, and the one we lost the Roosters was at Cbus. I'm pretty certain
that makes sense. And then the Knights would have beat us the year before because they're the only prior to this year. They were the only 2 sides that had beaten us at home.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's take that stat away. So it would be, we are still 4 of our last 5 at Cbus, but the Knights are one of the
better record teams at our stadium.
Yeah. So that they've played once at our stadium and they won there. And I'm just thinking, so now it'd be the Sharks, Roosters, and Knights who have wins over us at Cbus. So they are almost full strength, Caitlin Johnston-Green, but they have gone most of the season without us. So I think they're better adjusted to that than we will be with our 3 injuries. Here's my concern, Blaze, and this is my last concern. Even if we do play great with our current injuries, I still think there are some serious teething issues that we need to iron out. And I just think that we can't afford to be tinkering, adjusting, and molding our game plan of how we're going to play missing 3 key players now against the Knights. We needed to be hitting this game in form. We said as much in the preseason, so it's not like we've suddenly just shifted our mindset after a loss. We called this out in the preseason pod. We said we need to meet the Knights at full strength here and get the job done. So when I put that all together, mate, unfortunately, I will have to tip the Knights here. I can actually see them winning by double digits and ending our season in horrible fashion. And although that's my tip, I'm certainly praying you can build the atmosphere there on the drums, mate. I'll be at home cheering this one on. Actually, I won't be on. I'll be on the farm cheering this one on. And fingers crossed we get the win, mate. But if you're asking me who my honest tip is, I have to say the Knights, unfortunately, mate. What's your final breakdown for this game for us?
Yeah, my honest tip would be the Knights by 1-12. Actually, look, my honest tip, I will say 1-12 because I do think our defense is up to standard. But yes, you might be right in regards to Lauren Brown being the glue that holds it all together. And obviously, she has had such a fantastic season, so it is really unfortunate. I will also say that it was really disappointing because if we had to beat the Eels on the weekend, we'd be going into this game with a chance to go into the top 4 right now, like as in this week. If we beat the Knights, we'd be into the top 4 into the finals. We would have pushed them out. And then we've got a game against the Raiders who have looked pretty poor this season, to be fair. So we actually would have been red-hot favourites to go into the finals had we won against the Eels. And we were 6 minutes away from doing that. And then, unfortunately, we fell apart. Now, I don't see the Eels being that great of a team. Like, they're better than last year, but they're not that great of a team. So that's why I still say my honest tip is the Knights, because I was disappointed that we dominated that outset, that we dominated that game and still found a way to lose. But with that being said, I'm going to go in with a positive mindset and say that there is a chance to win. But yeah, if you told me you have to make a decision right now and you put your entire life savings on it, yes, I would more than likely lean with the Knights. So let's get out there, let's get proud, and let's support our team, because this is the last game you will see at Cbus Stadium for 2024 across the men's and the women's.
Well said, mate. And I actually feel I haven't seen as much promotion for this one on the Titans website as our first standalone home game there, which was against the...
Well, this is a doubleheader. So the Broncos play the Sharks in the game beforehand.
Okay, who are you going for on that one?
Sharks, my mum. And also, by the way, before the season started, I did outline the Sharks as a really good team this year and said that people aren't talking about them enough, but the Sharks are a very, very good team, and they are first and have lost one game all season. I did obviously have us alongside them, but my mum's a Sharks fan. Don't hold that. Don't say that that's the reason I tipped the Sharks earlier on in the year. I didn't think that. I just looked at their team and said they've got a big forward pack. They've got a better player coming in next year as well, mind you, which is Caitlin Johnson-Green for the Knights, which is huge there for their front row forwards. It was pretty. I thought it was a pretty good pick there for a little bit of a sneaky, and they've proven me right. But yeah, look, I'd go for the Sharks, my mum.
No, absolutely fair, mate. And the Sharks were our last standalone.
And I hate the Broncos. Why would I go with the Broncos?
I didn't know that. And of course, the Sharks were our last team for the standalone game at Cbus, so they got to experience the full brunt of the drums. Now they might get to experience a little bit of support with the drums if they play their cards right, mate. Alrighty, that has been our show, guys. We're going to call it there. It's been a big one, although we didn't have an NRL game to preview. Gave us a bit more flexibility to talk a little bit more in some of our other segments. So we do and hope you enjoyed the episode, although it did go a little bit long. Oh, it's pretty normal, actually, around that hour 15.
I'll jump in here and just quickly say, in regards to Find the Frontline, guys, for next week, I want you guys to send in a voice message saying your favorite moment from this season and who your MVP is, because we'll do our award ceremony for the men's probably next week, I would say, and go through the games and label it. I know we'll sub the women's game and whatnot. Do you want to wait for the week after that for that? Do you want to wait when there's no game to preview and whatnot, and then we can just clearly go through that kind of stuff? We'll figure it out. Anyway, just send your voice message in, guys. Whether you love a player, appreciate a player, but tell us your favorite moment of the season, what your most exciting part of the year was. We would love to hear it. But unfortunately, we haven't got time to jump into your messages today. But send that in for next week on the link in the description, and also, the link in the description.
Yep, whether you're on a podcast player, YouTube, doesn't matter. The link's right there. You can leave it anonymously or you can leave your name. If you're on your phone, it's as simple as picking up the phone, putting it to your mouth like I am now, and sending in your phone the front line. So get it done, guys. That's simple. From myself, thank you very much for being here with us, Titans community. We absolutely love you guys, and we will see you next week, hopefully breaking down a win against the Newcastle Knights for our NRLW side. Over to you, Blaze. Final word or final zing? What have you got?
Well, we're going to get a zing. Don't worry, Mr. Green Screen in the background. That's definitely coming through when you're putting your hands up there. But no, guys, get out in support of our women's team this Saturday. They deserve it. I know the finals are on that night as well. I'll have to drum, get crazy, get loud, and then rush off back home to do the streams and whatnot, live streams with you guys on BKRsport. Dane's so desperate to do a zing right now, but I'm just kind of letting everyone know that just support the team. We will have a long break, and trust me, I am ready for a long break after a long year, that's for sure. But let's get out one last time. Get loud, get proud, get behind the drums, get behind the chanting. We appreciate you as always. And zing! I beat you to it, son, out of nowhere. Zing, zing, zing! Zing!